All right, I'd like to just go into a couple of things. First of all, when it comes down to spiritual warfare, and that's what I'm all about. I'm basically about trying to fight supremacy of any kind. I think that all supremacy is wrong. I think that white supremacy, of course, is one of the major factors to a lot of things that are going on, and that the fact that there are people out there that have, superiority or supremacy agendas, and I don't really think that we, especially as African descendants of Africans, understand the magnitude of the spiritual warfare that's against us. The other thing is, it's been going on for so long that now we're at the point where I think that we are basically so hypnotized by it, and that we have been so indoctrinated that our subconscious won't allow us to really, take this information in. And I know there's a lot of people that disagree with me, and there's a lot of people, but you can disagree with me all you want, but you have to understand certain things. First of all, everybody is a spirit, and there are all kinds of spirits that are permeating throughout the earth. And in order to understand spiritual warfare, you have to understand that whenever a bunch of spirits get together and decide that they're going to do something in mass, then we get movements, or we get spiritual movements. And we even have so for example, I can give you an example of a negative spirit. A negative spirit would be something like what's going on in the city of Chicago, where we have a tremendous amount of fratricide, where we have brothers killing brothers, where we have young black men killing young black men on a regular, or shooting each other. We have black people killing black people. All right, so that's why you have to be aware of spiritual warfare. It's not the fact that that these people are necessarily evil or anything like that. What the problem is that spirit permeates that geographical area. And spirits can permeate geographical areas. There are certain things that are prevalent in certain areas, and certain things that are not. So that's why in the South, in the United States, you have a lot of races. Why? Because that spirit has been permeated throughout that area since before the Civil War. All right, and they were willing to fight and die for the fact that they wanted to keep people enslaved. So you gotta look and see where these things are coming from. I mean, it's a lot deeper, and people think that a lot of these solutions can be made just through talking it out or whatever. But when you have a spirit that's been enforced for hundreds of years, and people have been re-indoctrinated into the spirit, and people are basically doing incantations and everything else into the spirit. This is a difficult thing. You can't just get rid of something that's been around for 100 years. The same thing is true right now with slavery, and with racism and Jim Crow and all of that. Now don't get me wrong. I mean, you can make inroads, but you got to have a concentrated effort by a lot of people. And the other thing is, no spiritual warfare can begin without the basic and the rudimentary concept is love. Because the only spirit that overcomes everything is the spirit of love. And the only spirit that never fails is love. So until you understand that, and until that's your fight, then you can't really, I understand there's a lot of people that want to go to straight up physical warfare. But even scripturally, you can go and scripturally wherever but war will never conquer hate. So you know that the only kind of war that will conquer hate is spiritual warfare, and it has to be done from a standpoint of love. And the same thing is true, half of the stuff, we go back to Chicago, half of the stuff that's occurring in Chicago is because, first of all, these young men have no jobs. Second of all, they have no love. You got a lot of them that are basically coming from single parent homes and all of these different types of things, and then, you know, so you got all the systemic things that are going on. They're being tracked down by the police. They're being shunned by their women, you know, because they've been put on child support and all of these other things that are going on in the community. They've been run off from their children, run off from their families, and you just have a complete lack of love and no education, or if they do have an education, it's a poor education. So how do you sustain? You know, people want to, you know, you got a president that wants to call the National Guard on them. You got I mean, just a ton of things spiritually that are mounting up against them. And so when you get all of that stuff going on, and I made a post earlier today talking about spiritual warfare and the removal of the original Trinity, which was Father, Son, and Mother. Mother, Father, Son, which was the family. So you can see systemically, that's why people who are trying to fight spiritual warfare, or the white supremacists who want to take over everything, what they're going to do is they're going to use that the fact of Father, Son, Holy Ghost. There is no Holy Ghost that's gonna replace the feminine energy or replace the mother. There's no Holy Ghost that's going to replace the woman, or in any type of situation that requires life. So that's why it's so easy, and we've been indoctrinated into different religions that have told us that it's a patriarchal system, and that these people have no and that women basically have nothing to do with it. Okay, but then on the other hand, you also need the male energy, because you're breaking up the family, and so that man is important. Why? Because whatever you say spiritually, a woman cannot basically break down what it's like to be a man, because they have no clue. They don't have the prerequisite spiritual state, because women and men think differently, and they're supposed to think differently. And it's not a bad thing. They're supposed to think differently, because that's how you were created. Okay? So the breaking up of the family is the breaking up of spirituality, because that was the original, in Kemetic terms, in Kushite terms, in Ethiopian terms. No matter where you go on the planet, the original Trinity was the family: father, mother, child. Okay, that's the Trinity. So no matter what anybody wants to tell you, and so if they come up in there talking about the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, and all of this stuff, that's a myth. That's mythological. That's not true. All right, and you cannot create life, and you cannot sustain life without feminine energy. That's how come even in our bodies, even in the human body, the man has all the female parts, and the female has all the man parts. They're just different sizes, different shapes, and they're in different places, and their function is a little bit different. But for the most part, male and female are included in everything. So, and that's universal law. Universal law is not going to go against nature. And here's the other thing: we talk about racism, or we talk about anything like that. The natural laws are never going to go against race or anything like that. They apply equally to everybody, no matter what race, creed, color, nationality, culture you grew up in, whatever. These natural laws are going to exist. And that's the thing that needs to be taught in order to eradicate racism. It's like, look, you can, or prejudice, or anything like that, or white supremacy, or any type of supremacy that exists. The only thing that you may not be able to eradicate using that, it may be financial, because once people get money, then what? They get power. Power is a spiritual thing, and it corrupts if you are unchecked, or if you don't have discipline. So those things are things that we have to consider. So the whole thing about learning about what is real and what isn't. What's real is what affects everybody equally, without bias. Okay, that's what's real. What's not real is when people make up constructs, or people make up certain things in order so that they can have power, control, or supremacy. And that's what we have to fight against, and that's what we have to eradicate. You can't sit up there and keep on thinking that all of a sudden all this stuff is going to change because there's energy that has been put into this stuff for at least 400 years, 450 years, 500 years, 400 years. All of this stuff has been spiritually imparted into us. The other thing is, you cannot believe any religion, because religion was created by men in order to gain that power and control, and especially spiritual control. Spiritual control, because now I got your God. So if I create a religion for you, and you worship this God, this spirit that I've created, and remember, we're spirits. Everything is spiritual. Everything has a spiritual element. Nothing can be created or manifested on the material or physical plane unless it starts in the spiritual plane. So you can't manifest stuff, but whether it's good or evil, you can't manifest something on any other plane except the spiritual plane. And that's the thing that our ancestors knew. And the other thing is, we're not going back to the conceptual ideologies of our ancestors. We're not doing that. What we're doing is that we're trying to make it up as we go along. But remember, there are certain things that say true. There's nothing new under the sun. The same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. How can you say that? Well, how can that be in the scriptures? It can be in the scriptures because it's a universal law. It's not going to change. The sun is going to come up every day. And when the sun doesn't come up, we're dead anyway. We're at least our physical manifestation and our physical and our material manifestations, they're done at that point. So that's how come the ancients worship, had a certain amount of worship of the sun, or the unseen God. That's where that came from. So think about it, and then think, well, what can be solutions? Because solutions cannot just be physical, plain, materialistic solutions. They have to be spiritual. Because the manifestation of racism, like right now, like how some people can hate. Think about this. Ask yourself this question. How can somebody come to your house, take you out of your house, take you to another house, take your family away, and then be mad at you? And that's basically what the manifestation of slavery was. Or somebody comes in your house, kills you, rapes and sodomizes you, and then they're mad at you because you return to your original self, or to your true nature. And that's why you have to be self-aware. You can't be uncognizant of these facts. You have to be cognizant of these facts. You have to be, or else there's no way that you can make a change or manifest. And then the other thing is, change within itself is spiritual, because that's why you get into habits. That's why you have idiosyncrasies and all of those things, because they're spiritual. They have nothing to do, and in fact, eventually they become unconscious. You just do things unconsciously. All right. So anyway, I love you all. Please just stay aware of your spiritual nature, and the fact that everything that you want, you can literally manifest, but it has to be done from a spiritual standpoint. Anyway, love you much, and I got to get off this freeway.